Nope, you haven't stumbled upon a mimic, but your passive perception has failed you, so you probably missed the secret Bradley Cooper cameo. Or all the references and connections to one of D&D's most powerful wizards. No crystal ball needed here because spoilers for D&D are abound.
Go ahead. Tell them what you got us into.
Any adventuring party worth their weight in silver should be aware of all the friends and enemies they've made along the way. Here's a rough description of the ones who appear in the movie. First, there is Edgin's old do-gooder group, the Harpers, a collection of spies and warriors who believe in protecting the innocent, keeping balance with nature, so on and so forth. But the real interesting thing about them isn't even in the movie. See, they have a connection to a certain special sorcerer we'll discuss later. Now moving on, we have the not-so-do-gooders of the Elk tribe, a tribe filled with barbarians too barbaric to even other barbarians. Their totem animal is the elk, which may explain Holga's insistence on Doric being a deer. She is missing the traditional face tattoo of elk antlers, however. Yes, elk have antlers, not horns, because antlers grow back. Speaking of animals with antlers, the Emerald Enclave is a band of nature lovers. Their sworn mission is to protect the natural world of Faerun. I hope that quick one was wholesome enough because the Red Wizards are next, and they are evil with a capital E. Arcana, demonology, and especially necromancy are these ruby rulers' claim to fame. Remember them, because we'll circle back to them soon. Holga and Edgin begin their journey in a monstrous prison called Revels End, a panopticon decades old and known to be absurdly difficult to escape. Now here's why. It's not just magic-proof, you see. It's so far north that it makes the name Icewind Dale an understatement. The mountainous spine of the world between it and civilization makes escape laughable, like a medieval gulag. But after our heroes have done so, thanks to the very helpful and handsome counselor Jarnathan, Edgin and Holga are free to explore the rest of the Forgotten Realms, the world of Dungeons & Dragons. There are secrets underneath the Faerun soil that are unknown to pretty much everyone. Oh, and so this video doesn't get buried like the Underdark, make sure to subscribe to Screen Rant. Some seasoned D&D players will recognize the very specific nod to Paladin players, and I mean more than just Zank absolutely tanking everything. Did you notice Zank smelling Dralis before seeing him? It wasn't just because their breath smells like death, but because Paladins have divine sense, meaning evil has a noxious odor to him. Edgin is supposedly the bard of the group, but besides being the distraction once, he doesn't really do much by the way of barding. But the movie may be one step ahead of us. Could those little one-on-one talks with Holga, Simon, and Doric be his way of giving bardic inspiration, the staple feature of the bard class in the game? Here's the evidence. Holga felt better after seeing her ex, Simon could believe in himself some more, and Doric kind of trusted humans once again. And speaking of Doric, why can she wild shape into an owlbear? Canonically, Doric doesn't see owlbears as monstrosities. Odds are, though, your local DM won't be so lenient. It doesn't hurt to ask, though. Throughout the movie, you can see a few examples of what can only be described as failed saving throws. For example, Sofina has Holga and Edgin in the spell Ivard's Black Tentacles. In-game, she would have to pass a concentration check and the two suspended would have to pass a dexterity one, which obviously fails here. The most blatant example of this can be seen when Simon creates the hologram of Edgin. It's safe to say that this is a major image, by the way. It's a spell that Simon knows and can produce sound as well as an image, so it can't be a minor illusion. Now, major image relies on the caster staying concentrated, and it starts to fail when Simon gets his foot stuck and loses concentration. Just a neat little nod to us players. Time for a quick ecology lesson because the movie is chock full of D&D specific animals. Now you have your classics like owlbears and axebeaks, which Doric transforms into, mimics, which as the name suggests pretends to be various objects and structures, and you see those fiercely ferocious fantastical felines? They're called displacer beasts. These jet-black tentacled killers can bend light and create an illusion that they are up to 3 feet away from where they actually are. Now the movie does an amazing job of displaying that. In fact, they even show the vibration that makes their power work. But did you know that they also speak a little common? Common being what most characters speak in the movie. Next, gelatinous cubes are exactly what you saw, and those intellect devourers imply a mind flayer may be nearby. But there is a bigger, chunkier boy we've got to address soon. So Simon sorta sucks at sorcery at the beginning of the story, but after his metaphysical run-in with his long-gone ancestor, he learns to believe in himself. Which ancestor? Well, none other than the great Elminster Omar, a human wizard who died at the tender young age of 1,267. But he's on this list because of a sneaky little connection the movie makes between Simon and Edgin. See, amongst his many accomplishments, the re-founding of the Harpers is one, the very organization that Edgin served. Did you catch the wonderful shout-out to everyone's favorite jovial robot? Simon's signature spell, Fresh Cut Grass, was seemingly chosen specifically to reference the cleric character in Critical Role, lovingly played by Sam Riegel. If you're just getting into D&D, go check them out. A big chunk of the movie revolves around the metropolitical peak of Faerun known as Neverwinter. What was once an elven settlement soon became the home of the Iron Throne. Wait, nope, sorry, got my notes mixed up there. But, in my defense, the movie straight up ripped King's Landing from Game of Thrones for Neverwinter's design. They were smart, though. Like a kid who never studied for his spelling test, they copied their friends, but changed it up a bit to not get caught. That massive coliseum was made whole cloth for the movie's plot. So, sorry if you wanted to reenact the events at your weekly Sunday D&D session, but we'll be visiting the arena again soon. Just wait. Szass Tam, not to be confused with Big Zam, is a powerful necromancer from the far east of Faerun. As a necromancer, he loves to raise the dead to do his dirty work, Sophina being one of them.
Yes.
Damn it.
So Sophina is undead, and while she does have impressive necromantic abilities, raising the dead is not one of them. Who does have that power? Szass Tam. Meaning that even with the vicious beating that Doric rightfully brought at the end, she could always be reanimated for more evil doing. A lot of non-human humanoids populate Faerun, so get ready for everyone's favorite dating show, Which Animal Hybrid is Your Favorite? Leave your answers in the comments below. Starting with the always punctual Jarnathan. This very pretty bird is known as an Aarakocra. Next, we see a very slight image of what's called a Yuan-Ti abomination. Our next scaly suitor is Counselor Noricious, a silver dragonborn who holds the letter of law and honor in the highest regard. But if warm-blooded and furry is more your speed, then the catfolk Tabaxi might be better. What if I told you the 6'1" Oscar-winning actor Bradley Cooper was hiding somewhere in this movie? Now, what if I told you he was one of the smallest characters in the movie? Going uncredited for his role, the Nightmare Alley alum was shrunken down to hobbit size as the halfling ex-husband of Holga, Marleman. But one more thing, is it just me, or did the entire scene feel familiar? Homebody halfling telling his old, much larger companion about a book he's writing? Even if it isn't a Lord of the Rings reference, nothing warms my heart more than forced perspective scenes of emotional healing and closure. Bobby, Diana, Eric, Hank, Sheila, and Presto were normal 80s teenagers on a fun day at an amusement park. When they saw the Dungeons & Dragons ride, they just had to ride it. Suddenly, they found themselves in the middle of a maze fighting displacers and other D&D adventurers. Okay, that's not exactly how the old 80s cartoon played out. Honor Among Thieves pays a loving homage to this cheesy, silly show with a group of fighters dressed like those same 6 heroes fighting in the maze. A lot of magic has been used in the movie, so let's talk about them. Necromancy has been given the most screen time, so hopefully you get that one. But you also have the wild chronomancy, a school of magic devoted to warping and controlling time. It has since been broken up amongst other forms, but is what lends Sophina the time stop ability. Now you have illusionary magic like Simon's Major Image, or conjuring, which brings materials, energy, or creatures to the caster, like Simon's Fog Cloud. There's evocation used for magic missile, and abjuration helps shield, and transmutation is put on display wonderfully when he casts Maximilian's Earthen Grasp. That's the giant stone hand that arm wrestled Sophina. Enchantment would allow you to change the mental state of a target. And you don't really see a lot of divination, but for reference, it allows you to reveal things, from something as simple as dreams to as complex as the future. Finally, there's wild magic. And disclaimer, this isn't a school of magic. When your innate magic ability comes from the chaos that is intertwined between the strings of creation, like in the movie, it can have a wide variety of effects, from a simple fog cloud to literally dying for a moment. Plus, it gives use to the D100 collecting dust in your closet. A matrix of caves and tunnels spanning miles underneath the surface, filled with monsters waiting to devour you like a rat in grung territory. This is the Underdark, and when you visit, be prepared to kill and run. Honor Among Thieves leaves much to the imagination here. It may be because little can be done in the form of talking your way out of danger. So, leaving quickly before Edgin gets any ideas about that massive fire breather was the right call. Dolblund is an abandoned gnome city where the biggest, roundest of boys slumbers. He's big, he's feisty, and he was the inspiration for a Nerf crossbow. This adorably huge powerhouse is known as Thembershode. He was the wormsmith of Gracklstugh, a city populated by Dwergar, which are basically Underdark dwarves, a race who like to use dragons to light their forges. And that's the end of the initiative order for now. Don't fret though. Like any good DM would say, there is more adventure to come and even greater monsters to face. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you again soon. Until next time, dear viewer.